All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a book that, even 100 years after it was written, sells 500,000 copies every single year. It's become this permanent fixture in our culture. You know the one, The Great Gatsby.
Yeah, look at that number, 500,000. That's how many copies are still sold every year just in the United States. And think about it, this book is a century old. That's just wild for any book, let alone one from the Roaring '20s. So we all know it's famous, right? A total classic. But what is it that actually makes it great? To get to the heart of that, we've got to peel back the layers of this thing because, trust me, the real story is so much deeper than what you see on the surface. We're going to break it down into 5 key levels to really get it. Okay, so here's the plan. We'll start with Gatsby's enduring mystery, then look at why it's more than just a love story. We'll dive into the jazz age that created him, peek behind the curtain at the author himself, and finally get to the big one, what this book says about the soul of America.
All right, first up, Gatsby's enduring mystery. And here's something that might genuinely shock you. When this book came out in 1925, it was a total flop. Seriously, critics were kind of meh about it, and nobody was buying it. It was a commercial failure, and its author, F. Scott Fitzgerald, was just crushed. He thought he'd completely missed the mark.
So how on earth did a flop become one of the most famous books of all time? Well, the answer is that we have to look way beyond the surface. I mean, most people see it as this tragic love story, right? This mysterious rich guy Gatsby throwing these insane parties just to get the attention of his old flame Daisy. But you know what? That's just the first layer. Let's dig deeper. Okay, so on the surface, it looks like Gatsby wants Daisy. But what does he actually want? See, the truth is, Gatsby isn't just in love with a person. He's in love with an idea. He's obsessed with what Daisy represents. Old money, status, a world he was born outside of. She's not the prize. She's the symbol of the prize. And this one quote just nails it. Gatsby says, "Her voice is full of money." Think about that. Not that her voice is beautiful or musical, but that it's full of money. It's the sound of wealth itself. And for him, that's like a siren's call to a world he is absolutely desperate to be a part of.
But this obsession Gatsby has, it didn't just come out of nowhere. To really get Gatsby, you have to get the world that made him. We're talking about the jazz age, the Roaring '20s. It was this incredible decade of explosive change, huge confidence, but also full of contradictions. So check out this timeline. What's so fascinating is where the book lands. It's born in this very specific, kind of frantic window of time. You've got Prohibition kicking off in 1920, making bootlegging and illegal parties the norm. And then, just over the horizon in 1929, the Great Depression is about to bring it all crashing down. Gatsby exists right in that sweet spot of soaring ambition with this sense of doom hanging over everything.
And this whole era of big dreams and big parties, it wasn't just a setting for the story. It was F. Scott Fitzgerald's actual life. And that brings us to our next layer, the man behind the curtain. Because this story is so personal. You could almost say that the character of Gatsby is a ghost of the author himself. Just listen to this quote. "Poor boys shouldn't think of marrying rich girls." Ouch. That was said to a young Fitzgerald by the father of his first love, a rich girl named Jennifer King. And that rejection, it just haunted him. It became the central wound that he poured right into the heart of his book. So what we have here is this incredible parallel between the author and his creation. You have to understand, Fitzgerald wasn't just making up a story. He was basically writing down his own pain, his own insecurities. Gatsby's desperate reach for Daisy's world, that was Fitzgerald's own desperate reach to belong in a world that he felt always kept him at arm's length. Okay, so we've seen the love story, the era, the author's personal pain, but it all builds to something even bigger. This is the final and, I think, most profound layer. Let's see how this story about one man becomes a story about, well, everything.
Here's the big idea. The Great Gatsby isn't just an American story, it's the story of America. Just like other countries have their foundational myths and epics, like Korea has Cheonjang or Japan has the Tale of the 47 Ronin, for America, you could argue that foundational story is The Great Gatsby.
Why? Because Gatsby is the American spirit personified. Think about it, a kid from nothing who completely reinvents himself, who builds an empire on pure ambition and will. He's not just a character, he's the perfect symbol for the whole American experiment.
I mean, he's got it all, right? He's got that boundless American optimism, that belief you can be anyone you want to be. He's got the power of reinvention, this idea that you can just erase your past and start over. He's got that all-consuming dream, always reaching for more. But he also represents the dark side of that dream, the potential for it all to be an illusion, to end in tragic failure. He's the promise and the peril of America, all wrapped up in one guy.
And that's where the book leaves us, with this huge, lingering question. Is the American dream just like Gatsby's green light at the end of the dock? This beautiful, shimmering thing that we're always reaching for, but can never actually touch? It's a question the novel asked 100 years ago, and honestly, it feels more relevant today than ever before.
All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to unpack one of the all-time great American novels, F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby. Now, you probably know it as a story about these incredible, over-the-top parties and a tragic love story. But really, if you look just a little bit closer, it's this incredibly sharp takedown of class, money, and the whole idea of the American dream. So, for almost 100 years now, we've all been captivated by this guy, J. Gatsby. He's this mysterious, super rich figure at the center of everything. But the title itself kind of throws a wrench in the works, right? It forces you to ask from page one, in a story that ends so tragically, what in the world is so great about this guy? Okay, so let's start by trying to solve the Gatsby enigma. To really understand him, you have to look past all the stories and the myths he built up around himself. I mean, who was this guy really? And how did he create this incredible persona, seemingly out of thin air? So picture this. Gatsby's mansion is the setting for these just unbelievable parties. We're talking every single weekend, a full orchestra, buffets that go on for miles, and endless cocktails for hundreds of people. And here's the kicker. Most of them have never even met the guy. So of course the rumors are flying. Is he a German spy? Did he go to Oxford? Did he kill a man? The truth, as you can imagine, is way more complicated. And what's so cool is that Fitzgerald leaves clues for us right there in the open. And one of the most brilliant things Fitzgerald does, and you gotta love this, is how he uses names to basically tell you everything you need to know about the characters. It's like a cheat sheet. Our narrator, Nick Carraway, he's literally carried away by everything that's happening. The name Gatsby, it comes from gat, which is slang for a gun, hinting at where all his money really came from. Daisy, she's beautiful, sure, but she's also fragile and kind of empty inside. And Tom, well, he's just a big, mean tomcat. The whole story is right there encoded in their names. So that brings up the big question, right? Why do all this? The mansion, the parties, this nonstop show. You know, the answer is, it's shockingly simple. It was all for one person. Think about it. Every single weekend, Gatsby's house is packed with hundreds of complete strangers. And he's just hoping that one day the right person will just happen to wander in. And that person is Daisy Buchanan. She's the woman he fell for 5 years ago, before the war, before she married the incredibly rich Tom Buchanan. All his money, the entire fortune, it was just a giant elaborate tool designed to get her back. You get this incredible image of him, standing on his lawn at night, just staring across the water. And what's he looking at? A single green light at the very end of Daisy's dock. That little light, it's everything to him. It's his dream, all wrapped up in one glowing point. A dream of love, sure, but also a dream of turning back time, of becoming the man he thinks she deserves. And it feels so close, like he could just reach out and grab it. But here's the thing. Gatsby's whole mission, it wasn't just about love. What he didn't realize was that he was up against something much, much bigger. He was fighting a battle against this invisible but totally unbreakable wall of social class. So Fitzgerald creates these two places, East Egg and West Egg. Think of East Egg as the home of the old money crowd, like the Buchanans. These are people who inherited everything, their money, their social standing. Then you've got West Egg. That's for the new money folks, the self-made millionaires like Gatsby. And let me tell you, the people in East Egg, they looked down their noses at the West Egg crowd. They thought their flashy new fortunes were tacky, vulgar, basically not the right kind of money. And this is where we see the secret weapon that the old money folks use to keep people out. It's all about the difference between manners and etiquette. See, manners are simple. It's just about being considerate to other people. But etiquette, oh, that's something else entirely. It's a secret handshake, a complex set of unwritten rules that's designed for one purpose, to spot the outsiders and keep them out. If you weren't born into the club, you just don't know the rules. And there's this one scene that is just painful to read. Tom's friends make this offhand comment to Gatsby about coming to dinner sometime. Now, anyone in their circle would know it's just something you say. It's not a real invitation. But Gatsby, bless his heart, is so hopeful he takes it seriously. And the second he walks away, they all just start laughing at him. It's so brutal. And it's the perfect example of how no amount of money could ever get him in. He just didn't know the code. Okay, so all of this is building towards the book's massive central idea, how this uniquely American dream can get corrupted and how it can completely fall apart. I mean, if you think about it, Gatsby is the American dream. This guy started with nothing. He was born poor, but through sheer willpower, he completely remade himself. He bought into the idea, hook, line, and sinker, that in America, you can be whoever you want to be. He truly believed that if you just worked hard enough and were devoted enough, you'd get what you wanted. But here's the punchline. In the world Fitzgerald shows us, that dream is a total lie. It's a dangerous illusion. And that's a critique that, let's be honest, still hits home today. It makes you wonder if it's really possible to move up in the world when you're up against these really rigid social structures. For Gatsby, all his hard work just wasn't enough to beat the prejudice of old money. The game was rigged against him from the very beginning. And when it all falls apart, man, it happens fast. It's just brutal. First, Gatsby tries to force Daisy to tell her husband she never loved him, and she just can't do it. She can't give up the safety that his social class gives her. Then later, she's the one driving the car that hits and kills a woman, but Gatsby immediately says he'll take the blame. And does Davy protect him? Nope. She and Tom just retreat. They hide behind their massive pile of money and let Gatsby take the fall. He ends up being murdered by the woman's husband, and just like that, his whole dream is completely destroyed. Which brings us all the way back to where we started. If he failed so badly, if his entire dream was just a fantasy and his money was dirty, then why in the world do we call him the Great Gatsby? Well, according to Nick, our narrator, Gatsby's greatness had nothing to do with his money. It was his extraordinary gift for hope. Think about it. Everyone else in this book is cynical, bored, and careless. Tom and Daisy are just drifting through life. But Gatsby, he had this almost superhuman ability to believe in something, to dream, and to pour every ounce of his being into that dream. Yeah, it was a misguided dream, for sure, but that purity of focus, that incredible capacity for wonder, in a world like that, that was a kind of greatness. And in the end, you realize Gatsby's story is really a story about America. The whole country was founded on this beautiful, powerful dream, right? This idea of endless possibility, that green light way off in the distance. But just like Gatsby, America has always had to wrestle with the reality of its own deep divisions, with its class structures, and with the kind of careless destruction that can happen when people are chasing that dream. So 100 years later, the book leaves us with this huge question. Is the American dream a real promise that's open to everyone, or is it just a beautiful illusion, always just out of our grasp?